What's going on, guys? Threw us on the block back again in the garage with the 67 Chevelle Project Motivation. And today we are installing a coolant catch can, or a puke tank, or an overflow tank, whatever you like to call it. Let's get into it. Alright, here we go. So this is the 3x10" polished stainless steel 32 ounce radiator coolant overflow puke tank. So this is a overflow tank for your classic vehicle. At least that's what I'm going to say, because you always see these on classics or resto mods. We'll go ahead and open this thing up. I think this is the 32 ounce can. Should be just the right size to fit in the Chevelle with no issue. There we go. Alright. So we've got a nice stainless steel canister here with a painted lid, it looks like. There's that. Does have a nice gasket in there. I guess that's machining there, so make sure you clean that off. I want that in your coolant tank or your coolant reservoir or your coolant system. Looks pretty clean down there. Now you'll notice that one of these is longer than the other, and the reason that is, you see the one on the bottom of the screen is longer, is because that longer tube is the one that you want to be your overflow. So if you look there, we'll flip it around this way. This is longer than the other one. This long one is the one that goes to the bottom of the vehicle. The short one is the one that comes from your radiator and hooked into there. So radiator comes in, pushes coolant here, fills this reservoir up. Once it gets to a certain amount, it goes through the top tube or the higher tube and then spills out the bottom here. Welded there and there. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. That's nice. It's going to look good. We'll go ahead and wipe this thing down so I don't forget to. And I think that was just from where this part right here was drilled. I think it's where the little shavings were coming from. Okay. And in this bag, it looks like we've got some hardware. So they've got two brackets. Couple holes here, slot there, slots to match up with your slots here, I'm guessing. That's what that looks like, so you can kind of get your adjustment where you want it at. And the holes to mount it to your vehicle, wherever you want to mount it. There are 4 rivets, which those rivets look like they're for the mounting location of the bracket itself, so that's cool if you got a rivet gun. A couple hose clamps. Those are kind of large for the size hose we'll be using, but I think that's the smallest available. So the screw type clamps, and then a couple fasteners to bolt the canister to the brackets that are provided. So 1 bolt, 1 nut, 1 bolt, 1 nut, and then 2 rivets for either side, and a couple hose clamps for down there at the bottom. I'm going to just go ahead and say that I will be bolting this to the vehicle more than likely instead of using rivets. I do have a rivet gun, but I'll probably bolt that on there. Or you could weld these on, depending on your setup, depending on what you got going on. Let's take a look under the hood and see where we can place this thing, and then we will make a determination of where we'll mount it and where we'll hook up our hoses and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you've never seen a 67 Chevelle before, or you're not familiar with older cars, there is no hood release inside the vehicle. The hood release is right here under the front bumper. Pull this lever back, and that is what opens the hood. Now you may see that there's some chrome under here. Chrome don't get you home, but it sure does look good. And back in the day, that's what everybody had. So that's what we've got here. Now, the original reservoir for the radiator sat right here. It was a square tank. That tank is long gone. So when GSTP reached out to me about some parts for some of the builds that I had going on the channel, I said this coolant reservoir tank would be a nice addition to this engine bay. And I think you can see why. I mean, you know. So I think I may pull this bracket out of the way, and I might mount that coolant tank right here off of this bracket that's built into the radiator. I think that I'll be able to place it about right here off to the side in this area here. Be a good location to mount it, and it'll be mounted right here off the side of the radiator. The hose will come across here and run down and do this little deal. with that said, I'm going to go ahead and unbolt this bracket. I may have to relocate my horn relay that's down here, which that relay is going to be replaced with a new style relay anyway. If you are keeping your car original, you'll probably be keeping this here anyway. But for resto mods, you're probably going to get rid of this relay down here. So I'm going to actually move that. If you wanted to keep that relay, I think you could. You would have to relocate your reservoir a little bit more this way instead of here center to be over to this side. And you've got just enough room to get it down there between the inner fender and where your power / horn relay is down here. In my case, the way this radiator is made, it's got an extra flange. Got the fans and the fan shroud mount too. Alright, so what I did is I used the top hole that's here, that's already existing, and I marked another hole down there on the radiator. So I'm just going to go in here and drill this hole into the existing bracket that's on the radiator here. Check our alignment here. It's good. I know somebody's going to ask what size hardware do you, or what size nut this is. It comes in the hardware pack. It's a 10 millimeter. So if you don't have your 10 millimeter socket, go ahead and find it now, or secure you the ultimate 10 millimeter socket set that has all the sockets that you'll ever need that are all 10 millimeters, or go borrow your neighbors. Whatever you do, don't sit it down because you know it'll disappear. Alright, I've got a 10 millimeter wrench here. I'm going to go ahead and start at the bottom. That one's going to be a little tougher to get to. And then the other portion of the hardware is the Phillips. Now for those of you saying 3 wheels, how are you going to secure that nut at the bottom? So there's a slot. I can actually take the wrench this way up from the bottom, and I'll get that bottom nut down there after I get this top one in. I did have to secure one washer for this top hole because it's too big and the fastener would pass through it, but that probably would not be your case if you use the original hardware, mounting hardware. You won't have that issue. $10 millimeter on the inside. Bring you guys in here closer. See the other side here where it was mounted. Mount it right there and there. You see down in there. So that's the mounting location. Now that that's mounted, I'm going to go ahead and route the hose from the radiator overflow, which is right up there, down to the shorter of the sides, which is the one on the top of the screen. And then that way when it fills up, it'll fill up to the one at the bottom of the screen, and then it'll run over and out onto the ground if needed. This is just a 1/4 inch rubber tubing. I'll put a metric equivalent on the screen. So we route it down there all the way down to there. You see the hose loops around. So it's on the short side of the tank. Make sure you uncap that side, and don't forget to put your hose clamp on there. Then we'll take this end here, bring it up. Now this hose is not going to come off of here, as you can see, because I had to expand it up on there. I will go ahead and put this clamp on though. And you just need a Phillips for that, or a 1/4 inch drive. Now with that done, we're going to go ahead and fill up our reservoir here. I'm gonna go ahead and put some radius in here. Old conventional green. Go ahead and put our cap back on. Drop it in there, twist it clockwise. Alright, there you have it. That is the Coolant Overflow Puke Tank installed beside the all aluminum radiator on the 67 Chevelle. Installation was pretty simple. Has a nice clean look. Used basic hand tools. I ended up using a drill because I added a hole to the bracket here on my radiator. You may have to add some holes to your radiator core support if you decide to place it there, or if you decide to place it somewhere else. You may have to add another bracket or something as needed. I ended up not using the accessory brackets that came with it that are shaped like this because I used the flange of my existing radiator, as you see there. Installation is pretty simple. I'd say on a scale of 1 to 5 wrenches, this is about a 1, about as easy as it gets. Maybe a 2 because you may have to drill a hole or two, so we'll say 2 wrenches. Thanks again to GSTP for sending me this Coolant Overflow tank. That's the website right there. I'll put a link in the description below where you can pick up your overflow tank for your ride, or some of the other cool accessories they have on their website. Everything from classic cars to resto mods, LS stuff, all sorts of goodies on their website. Definitely check that out. There'll be a link in the description below. My name's Erwin. This is Three Wheels in a Block, where we're giving back what time has taken away. We'll see you soon.